Welcome. I'm Chris. That's Lynn. And we're here to talk about the week that just preceded us in baseball and especially in Yankees baseball. It's slim pickings on news. Unfortunately, we did not get and still have not gotten the big deal.
Yeah, that secret, mysterious big deal.
Yeah.
I certainly haven't seen on Twitter, um, on the hot stove, on the Michael K show, in any of our usual beat reporters, any inkling of what the hell that was supposed to mean.
Right.
And especially if it was about who they were going to re-sign, well, that's out of the way.
Yeah.
And that was no big deal. So about that, on Friday, the Yankees signed a whole bunch of people to 1-year deals. So Cortez, Herman, Higashioka, Holmes, King, Loizaga, Montas, Peralta, and Trevino. All 1-year contracts, thus avoiding arbitration. So
all perfectly good moves and good people, in my opinion. Glad to have all those people back.
that's right. But of course, the ink wasn't even dry on these terms until we get the word that Montas is going to miss a month or more because of a shoulder injury. So and hey, good morning, FJ. Great to have you with us again this week. Um, so we were really jury out on Montas as it was at the end of the season. And so, what does this mean for the starting rotation? Knowing who's going to be that fifth guy if we get to opening day, and Montas is still suffering or lingering with injury. And by the way, so opening day is like 74 days away, 2.5 months away, which we don't even know the nature of the shoulder injury and if shoulder injury is a euphemism or not.
Right.
So what does this mean? Do we yank Herman out of the pen where he was relegated to last at the end of the season, or is Herman the fifth guy?
Well, it's the whole situation with Montas has been, I think, a disappointment from the beginning. So that's a good question, FJ. Is how did Montas pass his physical, and why did the Yankees, knowing what they knew, want him? And so those are excellent questions to ask Brian Cashman, as usual. Another contract there that we might think should be thrown out the window. But and if that happened, then I would be happy to see Herman step up again. He's been in the starter role. He's been successful in that role. I would like to see that happen. If Clark Schmidt is the choice, give him a chance. Let's see what he's got.
And that seems to be, all things being what they're looking like now, that's a possibility that there's going to have to be a choice between Herman and Schmidt. And what's Cashman's analysis of the risk going to be in that regard? We know that Schmidt is high caliber in the role he has. Is our bullpen deep enough to sacrifice him and pull him into the starting rotation? Schmidt into the starting rotation. Or do we really still need him as the key middle reliever?
Right.
Herman came back from his IL looking great, and so you want to see high performing guys get their chance, and at some point a risk has to be taken on those guys. But I would think that we would go with what we know. And maybe Schmidt could come in, earlier when needed,
right.
when the bullpen really has to be stacked. So, Yeah, my money's on Herman, and my money's on Herman when the season opens. I just have zero. I'm very skeptical about Montas
Yeah.
when he's going to be actually able to play again. Elliot, yep, you're backing up what we're talking about. No confidence in Montas.
Right.
Not surprised at all that something like this happened to him. So, what the heck has he been doing since September? That, was he working out that hard? No, not if you're working out with a trainer.
Was
Like,
he ever healthy?
was he ever healthy to begin with? And and so FG is bringing up signing Bauer.
And
Let's go there.
I think that given the Yankees track record both in the previous seasons and this season, I don't see them bringing in doing anything explosive as bringing Bauer in. The Yankees are pretty complacent as far as the personalities that they bring into the Bronx. I mean, we didn't. Bryce Harper did not make his appearance in the Bronx in pinstripes, if you recall, nor did Manny Machado, both available. So the Yankees have passed on a number of high-level free agents that maybe they just didn't fit in with the Yankee system, with the Yankee vision.
Right. And I'm going to, this is my New Year's resolution. I'm putting to the side the other horrendous things that happen in his personal life. And so I would agree, though. We don't need another, divisive, explosive person in that clubhouse. And that's his baggage that he's carrying around with him. He's not a good clubhouse guy.
Right.
So, Judge's captain that, is a game changer, but not enough to have to be distracted by any kind of nonsense that anyone would bring. So why would we do that? So yeah, I think it comes down from you and me about Bauer.
Well, FJ,
Brad,
sorry.
I'm sorry, Chris. What'd you say?
I was going to say, FJ, under other circumstances, I have no problem with Bauer getting a job in MLB. He was exonerated. He should be able to ply his craft. That's my take. So it's unpopular, but that's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
But not a good mix for the Yankees. I mean, can you imagine any more polar opposites than Aaron Judge and Trevor Bauer?
No, I don't think even Aaron Judge could make this guy a Yankee. So yeah, I would agree. And hey, Brad. So Brad's saying that another, referring to Montas, I'm sure, another bad trade by Cashman. Herman probably has the inside running for the fifth starter. Yep. I think we agree on that. So Chris, there was an interesting name missing from this army of players that got signed to 1 year and avoided arbitration.
Yeah. Sticking out like a sore thumb, Gleyber Torres. It seems that he's going to arbitration. I believe that I read that the amount separating the team and Gleyber is 500,000.
That's correct.
And so that is an interesting development and does it mean anything beyond what it looks like, that the Yankees are cheap, so-and-sos or something?
Right. And why, Gleyber, would you go to the table with that little of a difference in the number? And I don't know if his agent is not telling him the risks, but arbitration is an ugly thing, even for the most high producing of players, and players that have consistently brought something to the Yankees. I know that there was bitter taste in Jeter's mouth at one point because of it, and I'm taking way back to Mike Pagliarulo because what happened is his arbitration is that he was skinned alive about his performance, about his lack of value to the team. And Mr. Pagliarulo, my pads, I still have his shirt, hot-blooded Italian guy basically flipped the table over and went nuts. So is Torres prepared to hear, we gave you a second chance because you sucked at shortstop, moved you to second, and you had a couple of highlight reel type plays, but not so much at the plate. So, I think you should be pretty happy with that 500,000, and maybe now we're gonna reconsider that. Actually, maybe
Yeah,
keep the number, back up, dial it back a bit.
exactly. And Brad says trade Glaber. He's always been about him. And it has always been about Glaber because he was touted as a 5-tool guy, brought him up with all the accolades of, I think a number one prospect. And he comes into the Bronx and doesn't perform to the level that you expected, particularly in the field. His bat, he has ability. We've seen that his bat in 2022 was not absent, although he had the same struggles that other offensive players had after the All-Star break, I believe, in getting hits and etc. and being productive. But trade Glaber for what though? What is the need? Left field?
Well, Bleacher Creatures actually put out a tweet about how Glaber could be traded for a right-handed pitcher, starting pitcher.
Right.
And the name is escaping me right now, but the point of it was, the comparison was that who they would get for that, and is it even a need? We just went through the starting rotation, and there is not a need.
Right.
And so, and besides the stats on the guy that they were talking about, Clark Schmidt is as good, if not better. So, no, that was a really bad take from a usually spot on take account. So in terms of Glaber FG, you're saying that this was Yankees' way of retaliating for all the trade talk about him, that maybe he was looking elsewhere, I guess. And yes, absolutely, my guy Pags, the Medford Mauler. And Brad, when we were talking about how ugly arbitration is, Betances got absolutely roasted in his.
Yeah.
And was never the same afterwards.
Right. That's true too. Yeah.
Yeah, really great point.
And do we see Glaber perhaps being traded for the vaunted left fielder, someone not Ryan Reynolds?
Well, so there was an article by Chris Kirshner from the Atlantic, and to get to the long story short, he's of the belief that Hicks is our starting left fielder, and we have Cabrera, but what he's saying, why Hicks, is because the Yankees are going to rely on him as the super utility guy, which would include left field as needed. So he's the gold coin in the pocket as they see if Hicks is going to be better at the plate. Because he was, when we're talking about out in the field, it can't be argued that Hicks is a very athletic left fielder, and talk about some great plays. We've seen some exceptional plays from Hicks in his otherwise really horrible season.
Right. And I mean, he has some a strong arm in the outfield. I don't know if injury has ever dampened that uh, strength or not. He's just not the player that they signed that big contract with. That his performance has not been at all what was to be expected. And last year, he spouted off at the mouth that he was going to be a 30-30 guy. And that just made everyone laugh. And now it looks ridiculous in light of the season that he did have. But doesn't mean that Hicks couldn't rebound, I suppose. Every player is capable of it. I expect to see Cabrera by May, and hopefully he can take the left field spot away from him.
Yeah, and do the flip, and Hicks could spell Cabrera when needed.
Yeah.
I think unfortunately Hicks, apart from his injuries in the past, all that aside, he unfortunately psyched himself out. When it became evident that there wasn't even going to be 2020, I'm exaggerating, but
Right.
he was also getting, um, I'm sure his mind was also impacted by the reception at the stadium, the buzz on Twitter, didn't help matters. So I think, it blew up in his face, and he admitted it. He admitted it in interviews afterwards.
Right.
That he had an absolutely horrible season. So,
Yeah.
And so I think we should prepare for the worst, hope for the best. And to your point, Chris, they have enough not to consider Reynolds. The Pirates are asking for an unreal package, basically literally giving away the farm.
Yeah, literally.
At plus money. And this is a thing that I would agree about and walk away from. And I think at this point, after all this time, I don't see Reynolds being the big news
Right.
that we were told to expect. I think they're going to settle with what they got there. They don't know what their needs are going to be closer to opening day or during the season. They're going to hold on to the pocket there.
Right.
So Brad thinks we need a starter. Left field and bullpen. Use Glaber as a piece for a trade. So
I agree.
yeah.
I mean, let's face it, the infield is crowded.
Right. But would Glaber be enough? Does Glaber equal combining Peraza, Dominguez, and there's a couple of lower farm guys, with Glaber plus those two be
Right.
enough with the money.
Right. And I mean, if anyone believes for 1 second that if Glaber's on the team, he's not going to be at second, or that if IKF is still on the team, God willing, opening day, that he will be at shortstop. I firmly believe that the infield is not going to change. The only change that we may see on the infield is that Donaldson may get bumped for DJ. If Cabrera has no other position, he could be the super utility guy.
Yeah.
I hope I said Cabrera. I did, right?
You did.
Oh, okay.
And so, that, really, that I'm glad you raised that, because we want DJ on the field.
Right.
We want him on that field. We need him on that field.
Yeah.
Kind of quoting A Few Good Men there, but and he deserves to be back. He's healthy. I fully expect him to be the leadoff again.
Yes.
That is his spot. And he deserves to have it back. And yeah, so then, but what becomes of Donaldson, or what becomes of Torres if he stays, and they decide one or the other for DJ, and what are the odds that they're going to stay the way they are? Glaber doesn't go, and Donaldson and Glaber stay where they are. What does that mean for DJ? So I can't rule out that they're going to stick with what they got. all other things being equal.
Right. No, I would not doubt it one bit. I make this opening day prediction now. I'll just say it. IKF will be at shortstop. Glaber will be at second base. Rizzo will be at first. And the only question mark I think might be third base, possibly. I bet it'll still be Donaldson because contract. But DJ deserves a spot.
Right. And we can't take the numbers when he was injured, both at the end of the previous season and this past season. We can't take those into account. I think that we have enough data on him to know. And I know it's kind of hypocritical for me to say that because of everything we just said about Hicks, but
right.
I just think I have more faith in DJ.
Right.
And I just reminded myself of the pitcher I was talking about the notion of trading Glaber for a pitcher. It's Luzardo. I knew
Right.
I had an L in my head, but I couldn't get it. And so Yankee Slut says trading a hitter with a projected 120 RC plus for a pitcher with a projected 3.87 ERA is a terrible idea. Clark Schmidt projects better than 3.87. So just wanted to, since I was brain empty earlier, Luzardo is who we were talking about earlier.
And Brad is making the note that at the moment there's so many red flags with this club offensively. That's exactly right. We were talking before the show. What happened? I mean, what are we doing as far as left-handed batting? Rizzo, the switch hitter, Hicks. Is Cabrera right-handed?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Is that it? I mean, they did not improve. There's people who believe that the Yankees did not improve this team over the offseason, at least to this point. And when you think about the things that haven't changed, speaking of that, the things that haven't changed, Javi Yank / Los Yankees put up a post yesterday of the lineup from opening day last year, where Donaldson was leading off. We had Judge, Rizzo, Stanton, LeMahieu, Gallo, Hicks, Higashioka, Kiner Falefa, and Cole on the mound. And I think it'll be interesting to see how close the opening day roster in 23 is to the opening day roster in 22.
Well, there's a couple of standouts there. We know it won't be Higashioka, so that's an easy, because it'll be Trevino.
Right.
Unfortunately, a lot of the others you just named. Thanks, FG. Cabrera is a switch hitter.
I thought that he was a lefty, and that's why, because he's a switch hitter. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brad says the only left-hander is Rizzo, Hicks, and Cabrera. Is Rizzo. Hicks and Cabrera are both switch hitters. Right. Okay, so that puts Hicks and Cabrera on equal ground, though.
It puts Hicks and Cabrera in the lineup when there's, trying to get them all in the lineup when there's a righty on the mound or something.
Yeah, and the only other thing I think would be different from Javi's list is it won't be Stanton in left field.
Undoubtedly.
Back to is Chris Kirshner right? Will it be Hicks?
Yeah, it's so likely that it's just very, very likely that that's going to be the.
Yeah, and I'm reading something about Stanton, and it probably was in the Athletic article I've been referring to, that if he's in the field when he has to be in the field, when they have to put him in the field, it would most likely be when he's on the road in fields in stadiums where left field isn't so challenging. like Fenway. So, I we're we're so I
I've
guess
never
I'm
understood the whole
stammering
Stanton
because
thing. What is this man made of? Glass?
yeah, would love to hear from our friends that joined us today.
Right.
Um,
That he,
yeah,
that even the possibility of him playing left field is, just not even mentioned.
right. It's certainly not in high stakes games, and Kirshner is intimating not in the stadium at all. Let's go where he has less ground to cover. Um, and so does that make him the permanent DH? Because and should he be the permanent DH?
Right.
Really stuck on Stanton because, like anyone else, when Stanton is the Stanton we got,
Right.
we don't want anyone else. And we saw that last season. We saw some really big moments of that last season, but were there enough? Definitely not. Were they what we expected and what we're paying for? Definitely not. Um, and that hurts me to say because I'm a Stanton girl. Um, so, are you still able to hear me? I just got a weird alert.
Yeah, I got kicked off all of a sudden. So
Oh,
I'm sorry for the technical glitch
okay.
there. Yeah, that was weird. I just disappeared. I don't want to forget to bring up this week's trivia question. As usual, we have been gifted a trivia question.
Yes, and so Spencer comes through every week for us. I'm every week I say, "Oh, I don't have to do homework this week for that." So, and Spencer, I love the way you always give a story before we get to the question. So here it is for this week. How would you like it if you were a rookie pitcher in your very first game and on your very first pitch gave up a home run? Well, it happened in 1979. The pitcher, Roy Branch of the Seattle Mariners, the hitter, of former Yankees 1977 and 1978 World Series champions, now on the Texas Rangers. Which former Yankee clouded the ignominious, that's an SAT word, Spencer, home run? So 1970 and 1978. Think about that time frame and let us know who it was that did that to poor Roy Branch of the Mariners.
Absolutely. Can you imagine? I mean, it's as nerve wracking as a young pitcher's first debut, I should say, must be, and then to have a home run knocked out of the park against you, it would be deflating. But I'm sure
Yeah,
they
it really makes me curious. I'm going to have to go take a look at what happened to him from there. And, because, I guess, in theater, we say a bad dress rehearsal makes for a great run. So, bad first game, great career. I want to see how that played out for Roy Branch.
yeah.
Um, and so, FG, I can neither confirm or deny your answer. Uh, but yeah, thank you for answering. And FG, I don't know if you follow us on Twitter or if you're even on Twitter. But if you go to @HitTheUpperDeck and follow us, you'll see the answer posted before the next episode.
All right. Well, we appreciate all of you for following us on Sunday mornings. It's the highlight of my week. Hopefully, you enjoyed it today. Send us your comments, questions, anything. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like. Visit us on Twitter, as Lynn just suggested.
And a special nod to those that joined the show as co-hosts this week. We love having you. We thank you for coming back and coming back and coming back. Phone a friend, bring them next time. If you are watching this after the fact, why wait? Join us live next week.
Yeah.
And as always, you'll always have a specially reserved seat right here on the upper deck.
Go Yankees.
Go Yankees, go Bills. Ooh.
Go Bills.